Another edition of Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Bradley Meyer. And today we're going to visit with Mychal Sheridan from Okoboji Wellness Clinic today. Good morning, Mychal.
Good morning, Dave.
We're going to talk a little bit about concussions today. That's an area of specialty for you.
Yeah, concussions, they happen all the time, and we don't really know what to do when they happen other than the traditional rest and you might get better. But I have some statistics that show about 1/3 of people who receive a concussion never actually get better, and they have these lingering issues because we're not treating the system as a whole.
So tell us about that. Tell us a little bit about what are some of the symptoms that people still have if they're not recovering from concussion.
I like to put them in buckets. I have 4 buckets of the symptoms. Some are the classic, the cognitive, so not being able to focus at work, short-term memory, and just not able to perform like they did before concussions. The other one would be physical, so your headache, dizziness, vertigo, nausea, and then just pain in general. And then the other 2 buckets we kind of take for granted. I know this next one, the sleep bucket, we just take sleep for granted as a society to begin with. And then if we can't sleep, then we can never fully rest and heal. And then the third bucket is that emotional bucket, where we just kind of play it off. What's wrong with that person? You know, they got mood swings, loss of pleasure, maybe depression, anxiety, and their personality just changed and never really came back after the concussions. Those are the 4 buckets that I like to, and if we're experiencing 3 of symptoms from any of these buckets 3 months after concussion, then you're put into this post-concussion syndrome category.
All right, Mychal, so help us out here. So once we have a concussion, what should we be doing?
The traditional is just kind of rest and see what happens, but I'm all about we can actively help people here at Okoboji Wellness Clinics. And it's a team approach. We have Dr. Meyer who can diagnose if it is a concussion, and from there we have the hyperbaric therapy, which can help get more oxygen on fuel. So when we receive that concussion, body's protective mechanism is to kind of shut down blood flow to the brain. And that's good for a short period of time, but long period of time, we don't want that. So the body overprotects ourselves. So if we can do hyperbarics, get some passive oxygen back to the brain, open up that blood flow to the brain, it can make a big difference. We also have Molly Avery, our functional nutritionist. She can not only give you tips on foods to avoid, but also foods to help speed up that recovery. And then me, myself, I do neural rehab. So I'm trying to find ways to support your nervous system during this time. So just like when someone has a broken leg, we give them crutches. I'm trying to find different tools to help the symptoms less. And a lot of times I'll approach the visual system just because the visual system is taking a lot of input in. And if we can support that visual system, it can help the recovery process.
So help me out here. Give me just like a layman's term, how do you go about supporting the visual system?
Earlier this year, I worked with a 15-year-old kid. He got in a dirt bike accident, and Dr. Meyer asked me if I could just introduce myself and kind of show him what I can do. So I did a few assessments, had him do some range of motion tests, and the kid could barely get his forward bend, barely touch his knees. So I gave him some pinhole glasses, which they kind of take light stimulus away, so it inhibits the eyes a little bit. He wore those for 2 minutes. Then we did some more of the neuro testing, range of motion testing. He went from barely touching his knees to touching his toes. And I later found out that his mom said he's never touched his toes in his life.
Wow, that's amazing. Then, if you will, kind of fill me in a little bit on what Molly does from a nutrition standpoint.
We have inflammatory foods that we would definitely like to avoid. You have your sugars, your oils that can slow the process down, but she also is very educated on like what foods can support the nervous system during this time. So she's better at this than I am. I'm going to let her speak on that when people visit her.
Sure, absolutely. But generally, stay away from inflammatory foods, especially, I would guess, like you mentioned, sugars and things like that.
Yep.
All right. Now, you said you had some success stories that you wanted to fill us in on.
The 15-year-old kid, he's back to riding a dirt bike. He recovered really quick. Kids respond usually better than adults. But we've been working with a few in this first part of the year. I had a 40-year-old woman who was struggling to keep up with work before coming here. She did hyperbarics. She met with Molly, and then I've seen her a few times just to figure out different ways to support her nervous system and find kind of what her neuro deficits are. And I talked to her the other day, and she's in a good spot. She's back to kind of keeping up with work. She had to go to a part-time schedule before doing some of the things here, and now she feels like she's human again, is what she said to me.
That's awesome.
And then the other one is a 26-year-old female. She had a whiplash accident 2 years ago and has been stuck in this pain cycle, jaw pain, neck pain, back pain, and has tried different things. And they work for a little bit, but nothing is kind of approaching the body from a whole system. And again, I actually saw her the other day, and at the end of the session, she said she felt normal, which is kind of big things that tells me that they're emotionally tied to this because they didn't know they could feel this way again.
Well, Mychal, the people that are out there listening to us, maybe they've had a concussion, maybe they feel like they are in post-concussion syndrome. Maybe they're not, like you mentioned, not able to focus at work, whatever the case might be. What's the best way to go about making a visit to Okoboji Wellness Clinic and maybe visiting with you about what they're feeling?
Dr. Meyer, myself, and Molly all do discovery calls. If you guys want to give us a call at 712-339-6024, we can do a discovery call. Those are complimentary. And we can just talk about symptoms, see like when the changes kind of happened, and just kind of just start building that base foundation to help the healing process begin. And our locations over in Spirit Lake, Iowa, by Ace Hardware, and across the street from Quick Star at 3305 Berquist Ave.
And if anybody, Mychal's struggling at all with not just concussion, but cognitive function, whatever the case might be, maybe they just aren't feeling right, that's still something that you're more than happy to check out and help people with.
Yeah, so like I said, I feel like 1/3 of the population that receives a concussion kind of goes undiagnosed of what's actually going on. I would argue that it's kind of more, but anyone with chronic pain, cognitive issues, vertigo, dizziness, we have a lot of tools in our tool belt to help anyone who is struggling and just doesn't feel like themselves.
Very good. All right, Mychal, anything else you want to touch on here today?
I just want to talk about how green it is coming in to work today, and I'm glad that it's finally warming up, and just get outside, enjoy the outside. I know yesterday was a wind tunnel, but if you can get outside, enjoy that sunlight, and just enjoy the Iowa weather that Iowa always provides us.
Absolutely. Maybe do a little grounding today. That would be good too.
For sure.
Mychal, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and we'll chat again soon.
Thank you, David. You have a good day.
Thank you, Mychal. Mychal Sheridan from the Okoboji Wellness Clinic. You can find out more, OkobojiWellnessClinic.com. If you would like to visit with Mychal or Dr. Meyer or Molly Avery, they are quite a team at Okoboji Wellness Clinic. Again, OkobojiWellnessClinic.com.